You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely. Good morning. I'm back. Hello and welcome to the Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. Today is November 16th, 2023, and we are live here from the Legacy420.com news desk on the Pace networks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all over the place on cbgtv.com. So you can find us pretty much everywhere.
Good morning, Cindy.
How are you?
I'm good. I heard you had a great trip.
I had a fantastic trip. I did so much. I went to the Spirit Plant Medicine Conference, which is, all about natural medicine, psychedelics, and everything in that realm. I got to meet two people who were heroes of mine, idols. One of them gave me a hug, which was just totally mind-blowing. And then the following weekend that I was up there, I went to take Toad School. So I went and I took a course and became a facilitator for 5-MeO-DMT.
Wow.
Which for me, I just got goosebumps even just saying that. It is the medicine. I've done a lot of modalities over the past, 3 years. And although they have all been amazingly profound and amazingly life-changing and just absolutely wondrous, 5-MeO-DMT is my absolute favorite. It is probably the most profound medicine I have done. And the fact that it has taken me to being a facilitator, I am very happy and very proud of that. So I'm pretty excited. I got to serve my first dose in the practicum, and it was just amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. How are you? I haven't seen you in like a month.
I'm doing great. I'm the same. I'm here. I'm working my butt off trying to get my stuff done here that I need to get done, so we can list this house again. Other than that, not much has changed. I'm in Canada freezing my butt off.
This time last year, you were sitting in warmth, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was December 29th we went down.
December you went. Okay, so
we left here November, went to Ontario for a month before we went down.
Right, so you were gone from New Brunswick, but you weren't in.
Yeah.
But you're heading back there next year in the beginning of the year.
February. Can't wait.
Woohoo! I'm so excited for you.
Whole month in the warmth.
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But we should probably get to these stories because we could talk about this other stuff for the entire hour, and Al may not like that. So we should probably get to the stories. Our first story is coming to us from StratCan. Strike at dozens of SQDC stores now coming to an end. Thank goodness.
A strike that had impacted up to 26 cannabis stores in Quebec for more than a year is coming to an end. The Société Québécoise du Cannabis, which is the SQDC, posted the news on Monday, November 13th, and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, which is QP 5454, shared their confirmation on November 14th.
The strike began 18 months ago and called for better working conditions and wages for the 300 members currently employed in 24 SQDC branches. The SQDC has said that they hope to reach the negotiated agreement to the satisfaction of all parties involved. And just a side note, when I have been going back and forth and doing a couple things, getting the van, I have shopped at the SQDC stores, and the stores that they're talking about, they weren't closed for the entire strike, but they were only open Monday to Friday from noon to 5 p.m. 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that's what they did during the strike. So they didn't completely shut down, but you had to be on the ball to when you went to the stores.
I am wondering, for the medical patients, the access being cut that much, it really worries me because you would never see, like, say, Shoppers Drug Mart close down their pharmacies. patients need
Well,
access.
and I realize that, but the argument to that is this is a recreational store, not a medical store.
Yeah, I know, but they have no medical stores there as far as I know. It's all everything's centered on recreation.
And this is where we have to fight, right? But right now it is under the banner of being a recreational store.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're allowed to do this. So the separate fight is we have to get medical stores out there. We have to get it either into the pharmacies or somewhere like around like that. But like, I mean, like the argument is this is a recreational store, so therefore it does not have to be open for the medical patients. Sadly.
Very sadly. The wage scale for employees at the SQDC was reviewed as part of the negotiations and now includes fewer wage steps. Also, beginning in 2024, new hires will be paid $21 an hour. From 25 to 26 and 26 to 27, the wages rate will increase in accordance with the general parameters negotiated by public sector unions. The union expects wages to be between $21.60 and $25.45 an hour. The agreement from the union is for a period of 5 years. Our members decided to fight to the hilt to get better working conditions and wages on par with those paid by other crown corporations. We set the bar high and cleared it. We're proud of our success that we owe to the solidarity, combativeness, and determination of our members, said David Clement, who's the president of CUPE 5454.
Other negotiated terms include reduced uncertainty for workers with improved schedules and hour guarantees. Our members' acceptance of the conciliator's recommendation allows us to emerge from the crisis with our heads held high. These recommendations include improved wage scale and settlements of all disputes. We now have to sign these new contracts, which, once signed, will take effect and remain in force until March 31st, 2027, added CUPE Union Representative Daniel Morin.
The SQDC says it is pleased to count on the professionalism and commitment of all its teams in its 98 branches in order to pursue its mission of ensuring the sale of cannabis from a health protection perspective, and notes that the resumption of normal opening hours could take place over the next few weeks. Schedules will be posted on the SQDC.ca website. The SQDC salutes the valuable work of the striking branch managers who oversaw the operations of their reduced staff branches for several months, continued the press release. We would also like to thank customers for their understanding during this period. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It'll be nice.
So all stores there are crown corporations. All stores are crown stores there, right? There is no private stores in Quebec.
Well, they're all government, like they're not necessarily owned by the government, but all of the legal stores across Canada are government stores.
No, I'm just saying in Quebec alone, it's only government stores.
It's only government stores. Yeah. So it's only SQDC. Yeah. Yep. No franchising out to a private owner at all. On to the next.
I'm a fan of the private stores a lot more than any of the government stores I've ever been to.
Well, you do realize that the legal private stores are still nothing but legal government stuff. Yeah. So it's all the exact same thing. Just one way you have somebody who's like, taken over, even though they can pick their own name, they're just kind of really still kind of franchising from the government. They have to pay their fee, they have to do their thing, and they have to pay the government the money.
I'm more talking about the First Nation stores that I go to.
Yeah, well, that's different. Those are legacy stores, not legal stores. Yeah. Heading over to the next story from the National Post. Petition calls on Ottawa to allow more potent cannabis edibles.
And advocates want to raise the current limit from 10 milligrams of THC to 100 milligrams, and that's per package. Canadian cannabis advocates are calling on the federal government to do more to fight illicit sellers by allowing for stronger edibles to be sold by licensed retailers. The call comes in the form of a petition in the House of Commons, which opened for signatures last week, calling on Health Canada to increase the maximum amount of THC permitted in edible cannabis products from the current limit of 10 milligrams to 100 milligrams.
Ooh, my mouse was like playing games with me. Normal Canada Executive Director Genoa Cavion told the National Post that impotent edibles are among the largest factors preventing licensed sellers from fairly competing with the black market. It's driving the market to the unregulated market, which licensed cannabis retailers cannot compete with, she said.
Providing safe, reliable, and tested higher dose edibles, Cavion said, will allow the legal marketplace a shot at competing with illicit sellers. Cannabis-infused edibles, which in most provinces largely consist of chocolates, cookies, candies, and drinks, are limited to a maximum of 10 milligrams THC per package. While 10 milligrams is seen as an ideal starting point for beginners, they have little effect on more experienced users with higher tolerance levels.
Okay. Cavion, who also owns licensed Kingston, Ontario retailer Calyx and Trichromes, said those limits are hindering legal retailers' ability to compete with illicit sellers, whose selection of edibles is far more potent. The website of one popular Toronto-based illicit retailer regularly stocks high-dose edibles for sale or mail order, offering 1,000 milligram packages of cannabis-infused chocolate bars, gummy bears, cookies, and other goods.
Another website based out of southwestern Ontario, First Nations Reserve, also offers a wide range of high-potency edibles, along with a selection of chocolate infused with psilocybin mushrooms. Sam Gurges, who owns Toronto-based independent retailer Mary Jane's Cannabis, said low-potency edibles are among many obstacles hindering legal sellers from competing with their illicit counterparts.
No one who buys 100 to 1,000 milligram edibles on the streets is going to buy edibles from legal retailers, he said. That's like selling non-alcoholic vodka and saying it's the real deal. Gurges said it's important for both the province and the federal government to remove barriers for licensed sellers in order to help tackle the black market, including taxes, which he described as an unbelievable burden for him.
Of the $113 his customers pay for an ounce of cannabis, Gurges said 13 of that is HST, 30 of that is excise tax, 23 to 28 markup added by the Ontario Cannabis Store, Ontario's only legal cannabis wholesaler. Between $26 and $71 of that 113 ounce is taxes, he said, which Absolutely. Is complete BS.
That's not sustainable in any way. The government's legalization framework is currently undergoing a legislative review. Launched last September, nearly a year later than required under the Cannabis Act, the independent expert panel tasked with the review issued their first report last month.
And many of those interviewed by the panel, the report states, argued against making large-scale changes this soon after legalization, with some even suggesting raising the legal age to 21. Many public health stakeholders and some provincial and territorial government officials focused on reinforcing the value of existing regulatory controls, such as the THC quality or quantity for edible cannabis products and promotion restrictions to reduce harms, the report reads.
The report also noted that 10 milligram was established as a reasonable upper limit to avoid overconsumption by novice users, and that veteran users tend to prefer smoking or vaping their weed rather than eating it.
I'd say that's BS too. I know just as many people that eat it as smoke it or vape it.
Well, I mean, everybody's different, right? And this is what their surveys told them. I mean, and to start with, and what everybody seems to forget is that the laws came in, and there are going to be changes that come up, and we're going to get a lot more changes, and we're going to get listened to if we're not sitting there screaming at the government.
This is true.
And so I mean, we've got to give them time to take a look at it. I mean, yeah, they're taking way too much time. The one person that can make a difference, it could really make a difference, is the person that won the court case back in 2015. The person who got the fact, who forced the government to say, okay, we have to put it out there. These patients need, medical patients need fair access to all this stuff. So they brought it out and they legalized it. Now, the gentleman who won that back in 2015, he could take the country back to court and say, hey, listen, you told me you were going to do this and you haven't done it yet. So what's up? But nobody else can take Owen's case back to court for him.
Yeah.
He is the one that has to do it. And I wish that he would, but the government is doing their thing at their pace, and they're, if they tell us they're going to have something done in 5 years, we have to realize that there's going to be 10 years. And that's what we have to stand up against. They're moving, they're shaking, they're just doing it really effing slow.
Government pace.
and we have to speed them up. Some researchers suggested that it is rare that higher dose edibles drive consumers to purchase illicit cannabis, as consumers often cite convenience, price, and quality as reasons for purchasing illicit products.
Cavion doesn't agree with that assessment, saying that the promise of higher potency edibles is absolutely keeping illicit sellers in business, despite serious questions over published claims of potency by some of these illegal products. The other part of it is the amount of sugar you have to consume to get your regular dose, she said, and I agree with that.
That's what I'm disgusted by, right? I mean, the government is bringing the prices down. There are LPs that are really bringing it down. And I'm sorry, but, you know, legacy market cannabis is unbelievably expensive compared to what I buy from the legal market, as well as when the two products I buy from the legal market burn crystal clean. I mean, the ash is almost white. It is that perfect. And I haven't been able to find that in the legacy market for over a year now. So I buy my cannabis from the legal market. I'm getting a better quality and I'm getting a better price. Sadly, most of the price does go to the government, but I'm still getting a better price and I'm getting a better quality. So I'm going to go to where I get that. I don't want to smoke stuff that burns black and burns my throat. I want to smoke stuff that burns white and is easy on my throat. And I'm getting that from the government right now, not legal, not legacy stuff. And I mean, and I bought it literally from coast to coast when I was driving across the summer, and none of the legacy stuff was good. All the legacy stuff I got was burning black.
Wow.
And it was way more expensive than what I buy at the legal store. So, but I mean, I will still go get my edibles from Legacy Market, because for my $20, instead of getting 20 milligrams, I'm actually getting closer to 1,000, and I can break that up and dose myself over a couple of weeks versus one day.
Makes sense.
It's a huge difference, right? I shouldn't have to eat 10 fun-sized chocolate bars when I can just have a few squares of one chocolate bar, if it has to be chocolate at all. Absolutely. Said the legal retailers just can't compete with the illicit market over edibles. Liberal MP Patrick Wheeler, the petition's parliamentarian sponsor, told the National Post more needs to be done to ensure Canadians have access to safe and tested products and not feel they have no choice but to patronize black market sellers.
Consumers of edible cannabis are seeking much higher limits than what is available through the legal market in Canada, diverting consumers to the illicit market or simply leading individuals to buy many packages to obtain the desired amount legally. Introducing this change, he said, will encourage consumers to buy legally while also addressing the added issue of wasteful packaging.
An elevated limit further corresponds to the limits established in many U.S. states that have legalized cannabis sale and use, Wheeler said. Michael DeViller, an assistant professor with McMaster University's Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neuroscience, said the edible potency question is a good example of the divergence of drug policy between the needs of the public health and the demands of the industry.
And given the potential public health risks, I would place the onus on the petitioners to provide market research that shows there is truly a high consumer demand for a higher THC product, he said. And I call BS on that too, because it's super simple. They wouldn't be selling those high potency products from the legacy market if they didn't sell. Even if there is such demand, that does not mean that we should imperil public health protection for the industry's interest in market expansion.
DeVilla remains unconvinced of a real public demand for more potent edibles, and instead suspects the calls for reform in the area are coming from interests within the cannabis industry and lobbyists. You know, I kind of agree with you with the BS, but, you know, at the same time, the people that are going to the legacy market to buy edibles are advanced cannabis users, right? We're probably about half of the cannabis population now. So we still need the little ones in the stores. And that's something like I'll argue profoundly, because I know people that would, you know, like new users would go in and, oh, well, it's 100 milligrams, and they would eat it. They would get the munchies and they would continue to eat it thinking that it's no big deal. And the next thing you know, they'd have 100 milligrams into them where they can barely handle 10 and they'd be way too high. I think there should be labels at least to tell people that because you can buy medicine, lethal medicine in a jar. You know you're not going to eat them all. You know to take one pill.
right? It's right on the
Well,
direct.
yeah, but what I was going to continue to say is if they're going to raise the limit, they have to give the people working there permission to talk to people. Because when you get that bottle of medicine from the pharmacy, you also get a great big, sheet of paper telling you what to do. And you also get, a pharmacist telling you to take one every 6 hours. When you go to the liquor store here in Nova Scotia or, a legal market, they are not allowed by law to say shit to you. So if you go in and you buy 100 milligrams, they sell you 100 milligrams and say, hey, thank you, have a nice day. They need permission to be able to speak up.
Won't happen. Liability laws in our country are crazy. They will never let them do that because they're liable for what they say.
Then we have to, instead of getting mad at them, we have to share information so people can actually learn. So if they're gonna raise the limit and you're gonna go out and buy 100 milligrams and you're only used to eating 10, only eat 1/10 of that bar.
Yep.
Because somebody has to speak up, we have to speak up. And that's how we're going to teach the government that this stuff has to be done, by leading by example, because that's what shows them what has to be done. If we just sit here and call them names, they're not going to listen to us.
True.
If somebody sits there and calls me names and is bullying me, I'm going to walk away. The government has the power right now. They always have the power. So we have to accept that and talk to them in a language that they are going to understand so we can get things changed. That's what's going to change stuff. Owen Smith did that. He went and talked to them in a language they were going to understand by taking them to court. Do you know what I mean? They understood that. And that eventually, again, it took way too freaking long, but they did something with that. And if we're going to get them to make more changes, that's what we have to do. Talk to them in their language. Sadly, you need dollar bills to talk to them in their language because you need to hire a lawyer to be able to go do that stuff. I personally would love to sue the Nova Scotia government for putting cannabis in the liquor stores. I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. And I don't know any lawyer that actually wants to do that pro bono. So, but we've got to talk to them in their language. We can't sit there and scream and yell at them because that's going to get us absolutely nowhere. You know what I mean? If we talk to them in their language, we will actually get somewhere, and oh, my phone's buzzing as I'm talking. And I think that they should raise the limit, but I also think that they should give their people permission to talk because, like I said, we're going to head on to the next story here in a second. But like I said, I know all kinds of people that when cannabis became legal, all of a sudden, like on the 17th, they were against it. And on the 18th, they were like, yeah, like seriously, like I know all kinds of people, a lot of my family. So, and I watched a lot of them. They'll go in and, they went in and they bought weed and they turned it into butter and they baked with it and they had no idea what they were doing and they got too high. And then all of a sudden, guess what? They're against cannabis again. Because look what it did to me. It made me ill. So yes, we have to raise these limits, but yes, we have to educate at the same time.
That's something that almost everybody in Canada has experienced in their life with alcohol. Right? You drink too much, you know what happens. After the first time, you know what happens. You've seen it happen with other people.
How many people have to go through that 100 times before they learn? And then how many people never, ever learn? So we don't.
But they do learn. They do learn. They just don't listen to that. They don't listen to that, what they've learned. Because they know what happens.
Because when you learn, you make informed choices. As a recovered alcoholic, there were many years there that I heard that, but I never learned that. I didn't learn that until I got sober. Right? So
I'm just saying that you're going to get drunk if you drink a 12-pack of beer or whatever it takes you to get drunk, a bottle of tequila. Mm-hmm. That if you smoke 20 joints, you're going to be a lot higher than you would if you smoked one. It's a human thing. We know what we're doing. The problem with the edibles, as I see it, is, like you said before, you could eat a little bit and nothing happens for a while. Then you eat more and more and more. Like you said, we have to train people not to do that.
We have to educate people not to do that. But I don't want a bunch of uneducated people going to the legal store, buying a 100-gram edible, only able to eat 10, get the munchies, finish it off, and end up in the hospital, because that's going to move us backwards, Glenn.
It will.
We can't give all of these people access to go carte blanche. Edibles and alcohol, we got to stop comparing them. They're not the same thing.
No, it's not a comparison.
Not the same thing. It's not fair to compare them. That's like comparing apples to oranges. It's just not the same thing.
It was not a comparison with alcohol. It's a comparison of learning. You know what happens when you drink after the first time or after you've watched someone else drink.
We don't know what happens with edibles because everybody's different, and every edible is different, and every time is different. If I sit down to drink, I know what's going to happen after 12 beer, and the same thing's going to happen next time, and the same thing's going to happen next time. But if I sit down to eat an edible and I get too high, I could eat the same edible in a week and I'm not too high. I could eat an edible that's made in a different way and I'm way too high. So edibles and drink, it's very, very different. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, I've met all kinds of people that can eat oil like there's no tomorrow and they don't get high. But, man, you stick them with distillate and they eat distillate and they can't handle it. So there's a lot more going on in the edible side, like a crap ton more. So there's so much to learn, and we have to educate people.
I'm always of the opinion that you don't do something to suit one person. You do something to suit the whole country or the majority of the people, right? I wish that they had 100 edibles.
All of the legal stores, because it is still more people that don't use them than people that do.
Yes.
We should shut down all of the legacy stores because there's more people that don't use them than people that do.
No, I like the legacy stores better than I've ever liked the
legacy stores, so therefore we should keep them. You just said that we should be doing from the majority, not just for one person.
The majority are legacy people, whether they like it or not. We live in this country. This country is not owned by us. This country is owned by the legacy market. This country is owned by the First Nation market, not the government. Period. There's no comparison with those two.
Let's turning this into a political argument, and let's not do that. We're talking cannabis.
Okay, let's just move on then.
Heading over to marijuana moment. The USDA reminds workers to avoid cannabis and CBD amid uptick in positive THC tests and confusion over state reform movement.
U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, food safety workers are being encouraged to exercise caution and avoid cannabis products, including federally legal CBD, as the agency observed an uptick in positive THC tests amid confusion as more states enact legalization. The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Services put out a notice last month reminding employees that they're required to follow all federal laws regarding the use of illegal drugs, including cannabis, also commonly known as marijuana.
Oh, by the jump-ins. Over the last decade, societal perspectives have undergone significant changes with respect to the use of certain drugs, especially for cannabis and cannabis products, the USDA said. Many states have legalized cannabis use for medical purposes. Some states allow cannabis use recreationally. Much like tobacco or alcohol products, there is only confusion around the state-by-state legalization changes that rapidly expand availability of cannabis products. Despite being one of the departments most affected by the 2018 Farm Bill that legalized hemp and its derivatives like CBD, USDA suggested that that confusion extends to non-intoxicating cannabinoid CBD products are not generally regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, or other regulatory agencies to ensure the labels are truthful and accurate, it warned workers.
In other words, using cannabinol, CBD oils, and cannabis-derived products comes with a risk of positive urine drug tests. Even when product labels state that they contain no THC, it said, in fact, there has been a noticeable uptick in cases of federal employees failing drug tests throughout the United States. In some situations, these failed drug tests resulted in corrective actions, including suspension or loss of employment for federal employees. The notice also pointed out that changes in societal perspectives and state laws might mean that the FSIS employee could find themselves inadvertently exposed to cannabis products in a social situation such as celebrations.
It is important to know that cannabis use can negatively impact federal employment, it says. The USDA is one of numerous federal agencies that have issued notices to workers amid the evolving cannabis policy landscape, which continues to see states enact cannabis reform and lawmakers seek to create responsive employment protections.
For example, the U.S. Department of Transportation has finalized a rule to amend its drug testing policy in a way that could have significant implications for truckers, commercial drivers, pilots, and other federally regulated transit workers who use marijuana off the job. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive has updated its employment policy to make it so applicants who've grown, manufactured, or sold cannabis in compliance with state laws while serving in a position of public responsibility will no longer be automatically disqualified, whereas those who did so in violation of state cannabis policies won't be considered.
The Secret Service also recently relaxed restrictions on prior cannabis use by prospective agents. Late last year, draft documents obtained by Marijuana Moment showed that the Federal Office of Personnel Management, the OPM, was proposing to replace a series of job application forms for prospective workers in a way that would treat past cannabis use much more leniently than under current policy.
The Biden administration instituted a policy in 2021 authorizing waivers to be granted to certain workers who admit to prior cannabis use, but certain lawmakers have pushed for additional reform. Meanwhile, people working in the climate sector would be protected from being fired for testing positive for cannabis if they're based in a legal state where a recently refiled bill from more than 40 congressional based on a legal state under a recently refiled bill from over 40 congressional Democrats.
The House Rules Committee has repeatedly blocked attempts by lawmakers to end the practice of drug testing federal job applicants for cannabis as part of a large-scale spending bills this session. Over in the Senate, however, members passed defense legislation in July that contains provisions to bar intelligence agencies like the CIA and NSA from denying security clearances to applicants solely due to their past cannabis use.
The House Oversight and Accountability Committee also passed a standalone bipartisan bill in September that would prevent the denial of federal employment or security clearances based on a candidate's past cannabis use. At the state level, California's governor recently approved a bill to prohibit employers from asking job applicants about prior cannabis use.
In Michigan, a policy took effect in October that ends pre-employment drug testing for cannabis for most of the government job applications, while also giving people who've already been penalized over positive THC tests an opportunity to have the sanction retroactively rescinded. In May, the governor of Washington state signed a bill into law that will protect workers from facing employment discrimination during the hiring process over their lawful use of cannabis.
And that means Washington has joined Nevada in prohibiting discrimination against job applicants for testing positive for cannabis. New York also provides broader employment protections for adults who legally use cannabis during off hours and away from work.
Okay, so sadly, we've only done 3 stories, but it is break time. We are at that time. We may have to lose a story at the end. It's break time to medicate. Glenn and I will be right back after a session. You are watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News Source here on paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
And we are back from our medication session. You are live here with Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. On to the first story after the break, which story number 4, coming to us from MJ Biz Daily. Settlement reached in New York adult use cannabis licensing lawsuit.
New York regulators and a group of disabled military veterans who challenged the state's adult use cannabis licensing process have reached an agreement in principle to settle this matter, according to court documents obtained by MJ Biz Daily. The agreement, finalized Monday between the state's Office of Cannabis Management and plaintiffs, is expected to lead to the end of a temporary injunction that's been in place since August, according to New York's Daily News, which first reported the settlement.
The injunction put in place by the New York State Supreme Court prevented more than 400 conditional adult use retail dispensaries licensees across the state from opening for months. The lawsuit, Carmen Fiore versus New York State Cannabis Control Board, alleged that the OCM overstepped its authority under New York's 2021 legalization law, that cannabis regulation and it is the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, the MRTA, and opened the licensing application window first to those with MJ-related offenses and their immediate family, rather than allowing all applications to apply at the same time.
The lawsuit contended the award system violated the state constitution and that disabled veterans could qualify as social and economic applicants under MRTA, thereby receiving certain licensing priorities and benefits. The agreement still must be finalized by all parties, including the State Cannabis Control Board, according to court documents.
Interesting.
Fast.
Interesting. Okay, heading to the next story. Clicking buttons, coming back. We are heading over to Marijuana Moment. Cannabis helps people quit using prescription sleep aids and allows them to wake up more focused and refreshed, study indicates.
Hold on, I got to pop up here. A new survey of cannabis consumers with sleep issues found that most prefer to use cannabis instead of other sleep aids to help get to bed, reporting better outcomes the next morning and fewer side effects. Smoking joints or vaping products that contain THC, CBD, and the terpene mycene were especially popular. Compared to using conventional sleep aids or no sleep aids at all, respondents reported that cannabis made them feel more refreshed, focused, and better able to function the morning after, with fewer headaches and less nausea. But they also reported some side effects from cannabis use, including waking up feeling sleepy, anxious, and irritable.
The study, conducted by a pair of psychology researchers at Washington State University, was published late last month in the journal Exploration of Medicine. Authors say they believe it's the first research comparing cannabis to prescription sleep aids and over-the-counter sleep aids. In general, the use of cannabis for sleep-related issues was perceived as more advantageous than over-the-counter medications or prescription sleep aids. Carrie Cutler, a WSU professor and one of the study co-authors, said in the press release on Monday, unlike long-acting sedatives and alcohol, cannabis was not associated with a hangover effect, although individuals reported some lingering effects such as sleepiness and changes in mood.
The WSU researchers surveyed 1,216 people for the study using the medical cannabis app Strain Print. Nearly two-thirds, or 64.9%, of participants reported that they've been suffering from sleep issues for at least 5 years, while nearly 70% said they've been using cannabis to help with sleep for at least a year. The plurality of respondents, which is 38%, said they'd been using cannabis for sleep for between 1 and 3 years. Nearly 82% of the cannabis consumers said they do not currently use prescription or over-the-counter sleep medications, though more than half reported doing so in the past, indicating that they have some to see marijuana as a better option. They have come, I guess.
More than half the sample reported that they use cannabis every night to help fall asleep. Most respondents said they either smoke joints, 46.1%, vape flower, which is about 42%, or use some form of cannabis oil, and 42.5% before bed, although nearly a third said they use edibles and or vape pens. Another 14.6% said they use cannabis in capsule form. While inhaled forms of cannabis tend to be more popular among most consumers in general, authors said that those with sleep issues may prefer smoking and vaping because of the short latency of onset with inhalation and the high percentage of respondents who indicated difficulty falling asleep. They said they were surprised that edibles or capsules weren't more popular, as these are longer lasting and as such may be more beneficial for maintaining sleep.
In terms of product makeup, most producers or most respondents use high THC products, which is about 60% of them, although 21.7% opted for a balanced THC CBD blend. Asked about cannabinoids used for sleep, 78.8% said choose THC. 78% choose THC. 47.1% said CBD. 18.1% pointed to CBN. As for terpenes, mycene was the most popular at 49%, followed by linalool at 26.9%, limonene 42%, and beta carotene 19.1%. Wow.
One of the findings that surprised me was the fact that people are seeking the terpene mycene in cannabis to assist with sleep, Cutter said in the WSU press release. There is some evidence that in the scientific literature to support that mycene may help to promote sleep. So cannabis users seem to have figured that out all on their own. Asked to report how cannabis helps with their sleep, respondents said it relaxed their body and mind. Just over 80% each, helped prevent interruptions in sleep at just under 40%, and promoted a deeper, longer sleep at about just under 60% and just over 40% there. Yeah, I agree.
Of the 526 people who reported using OTC sleep aids, in addition to cannabis, significantly more reported that they feel more refreshed, more focused, and better able to function in the morning after using cannabis relative to OTC sleep aids, PSAs, or no sleep aids. Participants also reported fewer headaches and less nausea the morning after. Among those who used all three types of sleep aids, the report continues, significantly more participants reported that they experienced nausea, anxiety, and racing heart when using OTC sleep medications or PSAs compared to cannabis.
Some side effects reported by participants are no surprise. Cannabis was more likely than other sleep aids, for example, to cause a dry mouth and red eyes. Other unintended consequences, however, were more noteworthy. For example, significantly more participants endorsed feeling more sleepy, more anxious, and more irritable in the morning after using cannabis relative to other sleep aids or no sleep aids, the study says. Those findings align with takeaways from past research that cannabis can lead to longer sleep durations and fewer middle of the night awakenings, but also more next day fatigue.
And notably, researchers found that more than 60% of study participants reported getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep when they used cannabis alone. Less than 20%, however, reported getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep when using a prescription or OTC sleep aid, regardless of whether it was used in combination with cannabis. Overall, the literature suggests that cannabis can be beneficial for some aspects of sleep, authors wrote. However, additional objective research is needed to determine which aspects of sleep are positively affected and which are negatively affected by cannabis.
Despite cannabis' potential side effects, researchers said that they may be more tolerable for participants than the side effects of the other more traditional sleep aids, more modern sleep aids. These side effects may be less severe or impairing than the side effects they experience with other sleep aids, the study said, and therefore contribute to the perception that cannabis is superior to more conventional sleep aids.
And the authors also noted their survey had a strong selection of bias towards people who are already using cannabis because they perceived it to be helpful. Not everyone is going to find that cannabis helps with their sleep, Cutler said in a statement, and future research needs to employ a more objective sleep measures to provide a more comprehensive understanding of the effects of cannabis for sleep. Quality of sleep often arises in other studies into the potential benefits of cannabis, and generally consumers say it enhances their rest. 2 recent studies, for example, one involving people with chronic health conditions and the other looking at people diagnosed with neurological disorders, found that sleep quality improved with cannabis use.
Oh, very, very interesting indeed. I am going to leave the last paragraph and head on over to the next story. We are heading over to MJ Biz Daily, actually, and we are going to talk about how Japan prepares medical cannabinoids law similar to Korea's.
A draft law in Japan to legalize some pharmaceutically derived medical cannabinoid medicines while bolstering criminal penalties for cannabis use has been approved by the country's House of Representatives. The package of legislation has been sent to the upper house for further scrutiny and could take effect by the end of 2024, according to the Japan Times newspaper.
The bill would reportedly allow medical oversight for clinically tested cannabinoid medicines such as Epidiolex, which treats epilepsy. Epidiolex is owned by Ireland-based Jazz Pharmaceuticals. South Korea passed a similar law years ago that legalized the import of medical cannabis treatments already approved by health agencies in certain countries.
South Korea's move was a significant milestone at the time, even if it pertained only to pharmaceutically derived medical cannabis. Japan's bill would not create any market opportunities for businesses selling medical cannabis whose health outcomes have not been proved clinically.
The bill would also look to close a loophole in the 1948 Cannabis Control Law, according to Japan Times. The law bans the possession, trade, and cultivation of cannabis plants and products, but it does not contain language banning the use of cannabis.
To resolve that, the proposed bill would add cannabis to the Narcotics Psychotropics Control Law. Violating the law is punishable by up to 7 years in jail. Global sales of SQDC increased to 604.8 million in the first 9 months of this year alone, from 529 million last year.
Wow. Yeah, so they're just making it more illegal. Interesting.
Yeah.
We are sticking with MJ Biz Daily, actually, and we're going to head to Germany. Vote delayed on Germany's recreational cannabis legislation.
A vote on Germany's watered-down bill to legalize some recreational cannabis use has been delayed until at least December. The pending law will be decided in December, German politician Carmen Weg said in a post on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
This means that we are not keeping to the schedule. Her post also noted that Just a second. Her post also noted that improvements to the bill are in everyone's interest, a possible indication the measure faces further tweaking before the vote can be held.
Germany originally signaled that the law could enter into force before the end of this year, but the delay means early 2024 is more realistic. If a vote were held in December, the legislation automatically goes to the Federal Council in February, a legislative body of the Bundesrat.
If approved, the law would lay the legal foundation for home cultivation and not-for-profit cultivation associations, whose members will be allowed to grow cannabis collectively and share a limited amount with the group for their own consumption. The law would also require that an evaluation take place on the social impact of legalized cannabis over 4 years.
Originally, Germany had intended to fully legalize cannabis, but decided on a lighter two-track approach when the plan met resistance from the European Commission and the European Union's executive branch.
Wow. We get to do all the stories. That is amazing. Heading to the last story that I was worried for half a second we wouldn't get to is coming to us from Yahoo News. World's largest trial into whether magic mushrooms can treat depression launched at London Hospital.
Scientists on Wednesday hailed a milestone in mental health research as the world's largest trial into whether magic mushrooms can treat depression was launched at a South London hospital. The COMP006 study will assess whether psilocybin, the chemical found in magic mushrooms, could help to alleviate symptoms of the condition.
There are approximately 100 million people with a treatment-resistant depression worldwide, which means that their symptoms do not respond to at least 2 antidepressant treatments. Depression affects about 3 in 100 people in England. The trial will be conducted at the Centre for Mental Health Research and Innovation, which officially opened on Wednesday at the Maudsley Hospital in Camberwell.
Participants will be given separate 1 milligram, 10 milligram, and 25 milligram doses of synthetic psilocybin and monitored to see if their symptoms improve. Researchers are particularly interested in whether repeated doses can improve the therapeutic response. The synthetic doses were developed by biotechnology firm Compass Pathways, who partners with the Maudsley and researchers from King's College London for the trial.
Previous trials conducted by Compass found that people with depression who took a single 25 milligram dose of psilocybin reported a significant reduction in symptoms after 3 weeks compared with those who took 1 milligram dose. Scientists believe that psilocybin could help alleviate symptoms of mental illness as it can trigger positive biological changes in the brain. It is thought that psilocybin can helps brain cells to reorganize their structure and function in a way that helps them to connect better. This can help patients to feel more connected to their own identity or their families and friends.
At high doses, psilocybin induces a psychedelic experience with altered sensations, euphoria, and visual hallucinations. Magic mushrooms are often used recreationally, but remain a Class B substance in the UK, carrying a maximum prison sentence of 7 years in prison. Professor Alan Young, head of academic psychiatry at King's College London, said the launch of the trial marked a milestone for research into the use of psychedelics to treat mental health conditions, adding that the new center would help assess the feasibility for their delivery at scale.
Kabir Nath, CEO of Compass Pathways, said every 40 seconds someone dies from a suicide. Tens of millions more live with mental health conditions for which there is no good standard of care. The launch of our phase 3 clinical study in treatment-resistant depression here in the UK is an important step in developing innovations that are urgently needed.
And last year, the Standard reported how scientists were trailing the use of psilocybin in treating anorexia patients. The condition anorexia. Wow, I never heard of that one. Anorexia.
Anorexia. It's the eating disorder.
Yeah, I know. I never heard of this for treatment for it.
Oh.
The condition has the highest mortality rate of all psychiatric disorders because of mental complications and suicide. But there is no pharmacological treatment. Speaking to the Standard at the launch of the trial, Dr. Guy Goodwin, Chief Medical Officer at Compass, explained that the psychedelic experience could help change the cognitive rigidity associated with anorexia. Okay.
When patients take a psychedelic drug, areas of the brain that usually work quite separately from each other become more connected, he told standard. This is manifested in a person's experience. They may feel more connected to their own identity or their family and friends.
And this opens up different possibilities for ways of thinking afterwards. Scientists are also exploring the use of methylene, a Class B drug, as a potential treatment for PTSD.
Methylene is an entheogen, a class of drugs that speeds up the body's physical responses and produces feelings of emotional openness and empathy. Its effects have been compared with that of MDMA, but it is short-lasting and does not induce hallucinations. Interesting. Very, very cool. Well, that takes us to the end of the show. This is our PACE. That's our PACE News broadcast from the LakeC420.com news desk for today, November 16th, 2022. And as we close the show, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, LegacyFor20.com, Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, and Limestone Hydroponics. Plus, a big thank you to our viewers. Catch our next broadcast with Al and Reverend Kelly. And don't forget Al's tagline, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you later again. Glenn, bye, everybody. Have a great day.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.